You are watching Channel Adrian TV.
Yo, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, wherever you're watching this, welcome back to another video. And this deals with a reaction video I came across. A woman who actually tells the truth about why some women either marry their significant other or stay in marriages. And the reason I thought this was interesting to talk about is because I talked about this sort of thing on previous videos on this channel. And one thing I do appreciate is when women are telling the truth. So let's react to the video and react to the comments, and I'll give you my thoughts about this video.
If more women could afford the lifestyle that they have in their marriage, by their lonesome, they would divorce their husbands, or they would have never been in a marriage with their husband to begin with, okay? Like, at the end of the day, most women don't have the opportunity to make the money that men make, which, does in some way make them a victim of the system, correct? But it changes the way that they approach their relationships, right? And so basically survival matters more than the technical components like love and compatibility and all that other stuff, okay? And so depending on how large the bridge is between the lifestyle that the woman wants and her ability to actually get there on her own is the degree that that woman will be willing to settle on this type of man that she ends up marrying, okay? Which means that in reality, while women will accuse men of being extremely conditional or not really loving them or anything like that, technically majority of quote-unquote love that you would consider in a marriage is transactional for the woman, meaning she is there so that she can reap the benefits that she otherwise would not have from like a lifestyle and a survival standpoint with the husband, okay?
Now, first and foremost, I appreciate her honesty, and I agree with a few things, well, pretty much everything what she said. There was one thing that she said I did not agree with, but to go with what she's really talking about is most women settle in their marriages because they can't afford to either live on their own or get the lifestyle that they want by themselves, which I agree, because I know multiple women who married someone they didn't want to marry, but since they were becoming older, they had no choice. Or number two, I know a few women who are married, but they're not happy, but they can't leave because they can't afford it. So to keep that lifestyle, they'll just stay rather than leave or, sleep in a car. Honestly, I think this is what it's always been. I always felt for women, most love has been transactional. That's why you would always see why women say, well, he wasn't my type when I married him. In other words, what she's saying is she wasn't physically attracted to him. And if she had her own money, odds are she probably wouldn't date him. But since he had more money than her, she decided to settle in the looks department. I know she said compatibility, but what she's really meaning is the physical attraction and sex. That's really what she's talking about. That does not mean compatibility does not matter, but that's really more of the truth of it. This is why I laugh when men say this about certain celebrities, saying they only get women because of how much they make. For the average man, that matters for you too. I'm not above that, and anyone else isn't above that. But when I hear men say that, I know when it comes to these type of talks about relationships, I really can't talk to them about it, because to me, they're not educated enough to even talk about that. Because what this woman just said applies to all men, because I would say a majority of women would say their partner either looks beneath them. In other words, their looks aren't on the same level as theirs, or they felt that they dated down in looks. And it wasn't my only words. This is what she said as well. And I'll also leave a video in the description about how a majority of women view the majority of men as ugly. And the only thing I would disagree with in her video when she said that women don't have the opportunity to make as much money as men. Now, I will agree there are some roadblocks that women do have, but I would say that deals with more of choice and personality. In other words, men are willing to ask for more of a higher raise or ask for a higher pay, or they'll either leave, whereas most women aren't. And then job selection. In other words, most men go in STEM, which is going to pay more. But overall, she's correct, and I appreciate her honesty. And this is why I say I would never get legally married, because of if you find out that your wife views you this way, why would you want to stay with her? But that's just my own personal view on it. But let's see what other people commented. One commenter said, dudes, just focus on making money. I don't think I think you should still have a social life if you want to date and have social life. It's just that you just got to be honest about your boundaries and and understand how someone views you. Well, how she worded it, it's a transactional relationship, even though I would say majority of relationships are transactional. As long as you're fine with being just a wallet in a relationship, if you're fine with that, then just stay. If you're not fine with that, I would say leave. One commenter said, if the husband had the money before he met her, he would have never gotten married. I disagree with that. I still think even though I would say more men do not want to get legally married, but they could build a family, but just don't want to deal with the court, I would say majority of men still want to get legally married. Another commenter said, women in today's time aren't worth thinking about marriage. I don't want to say all women, but I would say the rules and regulations as far as marriage and the laws within the court and family court system need to be changed. I would say that. And one commenter said, this is sad truth I had to learn the hard way through broken marriages. The number one lesson I learned is you don't help women stand up, build, or get on their feet because they won't remember and they'll resent you for the help they needed from you. Sad truth. In some cases, yeah. From that comment, this is why I say to all people, don't go out as far as your boundary. And that doesn't mean as in what you will allow your relationship as far as cheating. This also deals with money. For example, if you can't afford to go on lavish vacations, don't spend money on lavish vacations, because if the relationship doesn't work out, you're going to be broke and be upset because you spent all this money. But the reason you had to spend with that money to keep her happy so she could stay. So at that point, it's not her fault, it's your fault not setting your boundary and standing on it. And one commenter said, men in the comments are shocked by what you're saying, but the term love don't pay the bills comes from understanding that marriage is a business, and regardless if we are so in love, if we broke and cannot afford to maintain our lifestyle, then love simply isn't enough. This is why most marriage end because of financial reasons. I'm sorry, but broke man, and to be honest, a broke woman is not worth marrying. See, another woman, Tony, she agrees. And this is why I say more men are no longer wanting to get legally married because of that. Because if that's how you view me, I don't know how there can be love there. You didn't really love me. You just loved the financial contributions I could do, or in other words, the lifestyle. And one commenter said, it's crazy, but this is a reason women switch up after marriage / she has her children. It's because she now feels more entitled legally to your money. No more cosplaying. Keep your money safe. And this is why I do say most men like myself will never get legally married, because if she married you for that, say if you have kids and depending on where you live and how long you live together, she could take everything you worked for. Now, like I said, it's not a man against women channel or women against men. I feel the same way if it happens to women, if a man did the same thing. I'm just trying to call it as fair as I see it. And this is why, like I said, I will never get legally married. But that's my thoughts about this. And to the men and women who are watching this video, what are your thoughts about this? Now, even though I think it's true, and I would say majority of people think it's true, if that's the case, can there really be love in any relationship without that type of financial gain? Now, me personally, with how she described it, I would say that wasn't love. That was just an opportunity. But let me know what y'all think about the video in the comments. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want sneaker reviews, my NFL videos and FanDuel videos I'm doing, police body cams, Sunday motivation to get you through the week, morning motivation, after workout thoughts, any video you could think of, subscribe to channel Adrian TV.